We have the final book in this series, book 8. Well, at least that the hard copies that are out. I am bunch recording this because I won't have the books when I go to college. I leave in about a week, and so I'm trying to get them all in now. And well, if I post one a week, which I've been doing, this video you'll see it like the first or second week in September, and the hard copy doesn't come out to the 28th. But we have the 8th book. This is my least favorite of the books. It's not horrible. All the other books are like 8, 9, or 10 out of 10. This one's more like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. And I'll explain why after I go through everything that happened in the book. The soliloquy in this book is Horikta Manabu. He talks about how he wanted to set an example for people, wanted to be a role model, and also that he doesn't trust people that well, and he wished that he could have changed that. And I have to mention that Class D is now Class C. A lot of times when I read in the book, I always end up messing up, and I messed it up, I think, when I was typing my notes for this video. And so yeah, I just have to make sure I clarify that. So for this special test, how it worked is you work with different groups from all 4 classes A through D. And how it works is the more people you would have in different groups, like let's say you had, I think you can have a total of, there's a certain number total, let's just say that number is 12. So let's just say you had 3 from each grade level, so 3, 6, 9, 12. You would get a better multiplier. Unlike, you could do something where you can get 11 people from one class and then add something to another, but that would just require safer points. However, like I said, combining different things is for a better multiplier. And the criteria, it wasn't something based off of like you would do in a textbook. It was based off of, I believe, discipline, fortitude, ethics, and initiative. So that's what the test was based off of. And the exam would be a long distance relay, Zen, a writing exam, and speech. And every day, the whole Zen thing, I have to go in that a little bit detail because you guys know the rest is self-explanatory, but Zen or Zazen is the form of meditation they would use. Is like seated meditation. And if you finished in last, that wasn't really an issue. However, there was like a number or a certain criteria you had to meet. So let's just say everybody in the school that they finished with a 51 or above, and their threshold was a 50, well, you still are good. However, if you met below that threshold, you would lose and you would be expelled. Well, the leader of each group would be expelled, and they could also bring one person down with them. And they were separated by gender. This was really an Enya Koji in the men chapter or book, and so the points, it went by grade levels. All the grade levels were combined, and so each individual group, depending on the grade level, that's what points they got. We didn't really see a lot of Horikta, a lot of Karuzawa, Sakura, or a lot of people actually. It was really mostly Enya Koji, which is fine, I guess. That's my favorite MC. Well, not my favorite MC, but he's one of my favorite MCs. Horikta, she texts Enya Koji asking for advice and his thoughts, and he said basically he didn't know because he's trying to take a step back. Hirata, he wants to split the points for the people who are weaker, or split the points throughout the entire class. However, some people disagree because they could need it in the future for themselves. We're moving away from, it's good to have like the unity, want everybody to work together. However, you cannot save everybody, which is a downfall. That's something in life, you know, you can do as much as you can. However, you also have to look out for yourself. And the boys and girls, like I said, they're separated. I believe Hirata's the boys' leader, and for the girls, Horikta and Kushida are the girls' leaders. Like I mentioned earlier, Class A went with this strategy where they included everybody from Class A, and they went with one member from Class C. Hirata, he chose to have Ruin in his group. A lot of people didn't want him because they thought he would be a hassle, but they don't know that Ruin is actually more like a tame mutt now. And then Enya Koji's group, it consisted of Koenji, I believe Yukimura, he was their leader, Ishizaki, Albert, and Hashimoto from Class A. And it was a couple others, but these are just the important people for his group. So the first years, they got to choose the upperclassmen or their senpai that they wanted. Hirata, his group chose Manabu, and Yukimura, their group chose Nagumo. And this is where we went, and Nagumo, he likes challenging Horikta, and he said, hey, let's have a friendly wager. Whoever wins, they won, and they have bragging rights. Koenji, he had a nonchalant attitude, and we know he does. A lot of people wonder why, and actually it's because Koenji won. He's rich, so whenever they graduate, no matter what class he's in, he'll be able to take over the company with ease. However, they talk about Koenji's plan, and if Koenji really does want to go to Class A, what he was planning on doing was, for the people who or the people, or the third years, second years, everybody above him, once they graduate, Koenji was going to buy their points with actual money, save up to 20 million, and be able to join Class A on his own. However, Nagumo, now that he's president, he said he's going to make it illegal. But Koenji, he doesn't seem fazed because he probably has more than just that strategy up his sleeve. Mealtime was the only time where the men and women, they could interact, where this is where you're supposed to be trading different information. But this time, Enyakoji, he just ate by himself. I wasn't really going around looking for any information. Back at the dorms, Koenji and Isazaki, they butt heads. Koenji doing whatever he wants to Isazaki. He's mad at that. And he's like, hey, Koenji, you gotta pull your own weight. And you know, Koenji has a nonchalant attitude, so he don't really give a fluff what anybody says. They practice zazen, they clean, they ran, did speech, practice writing, did stuff for the relay race, etc. Enyakoji, he noticed that Sakayanagi, she bumped into Yamachi. And this is where Enyakoji, they talk again, reminding the fact that she declared war on Ichinose, and Sakayanagi knows that Enyakoji was the one who took down Ruin. And they had to make their own breakfast meal, so what Nagumo decided to do, because let's be real, if you don't have to, nobody really wants to wake up early. So Nagumo's all like, hey, first years, second years, and third years, what we're going to do is we're going to play Old Maid, and whoever wins the most, or whoever loses the most, that they have to make breakfast. Yukimura was getting clapped, and so he switched out with Enyakoji, and Enyakoji came in and won the last 2 games, where he noticed that the reason why Nagumo, because during the whole time, Nagumo was able to figure out who was going to win which set, and that's because Nagumo had intentionally, I don't know if he chipped the cards or like put black lines, or he did something to the cards where if you just paid attention, you would notice that something was off, and that he was able to predict who would have the Joker in the end. Because, you know, Old Maid, whoever has the Joker last loses. And so Enyakoji, he noticed that, and, you know, he was going to take it to his advantage and just pick the card as of luck. But Nagumo's all like, hey, pay attention, because, you know, everybody else knows. I think Nagumo wanted to know or see the smartness of Enyakoji. Enyakoji, even though he knew the strategy, he played it off like it was all luck. And so that's how Nagumo and Enyakoji's interaction went that day. Fast forwarding a little bit, Enyakoji makes some small moves. He ends up sitting it's like kind of, you know how in a restaurant you have your backs to each other? So like, let's say one person is sitting this way and the other one's sitting that way. That's what Enyakoji and Karuzawa, they were doing. And so Karuzawa, they were spreading information. He wanted to know how the girls were split up. Karuzawa, she didn't know everybody. And Enyakoji's like, well, I ain't expect nothing from you. And she's like, or expect much from you. And she's like, well, okay, who the heck is going to be able to remember all these people? And so she was asking Enyakoji questions. He was listening to them. And he was like, oh, you know how they're split up. You remember all that? And he's like, well, I don't even remember it. Enyakoji was flexing a little bit. And that's how their interaction went. And after talking with Kei, he realized that a storm's going to be coming with Nagumo, Manabu, Sugiyanaki, Ichinose, and Class C would be involved in the middle of that, where he'd have to step in again. Okay, this scene was a little bit weird. I think it was more supposed to cater to the fan service of women, but there was the bathhouse incident when they were comparing their sizes. I hope I don't have to go in depth about it, but basically I think the people who were at the front were Sudo, Albert, Koenji, and Enyakoji. And Enyakoji, and I think the order went Koenji number 1, Enyakoji number 2, Albert number 3, and Sudo number 4. They were comparing to like the size of T-Rexes and all of that. So yeah, that was a little bit interesting. At night times, Enyakoji, he met up with he met up with Manabu, trying to figure out if anything's fishy's going on. Enyakoji's like, nah, man, ain't nothing going on. Manabu, he seems a little bit dissatisfied with the information. However, Enyakoji, he has his thoughts and his theories, and he's noticing stuff going on. He just doesn't want to give the information to Harikta Manabu just yet. We didn't really see much from the girls group in this book. The only 2 things we saw is one, Harikta and Kushida. They're talking about stuff, and Kushida's like, alright, just because I agreed that I wouldn't try to expel you doesn't mean I want you getting all chummy and buddy with me. I don't give a fluff about you, just leave me alone. And Ichinose, they talk about how asking her, does she have a boyfriend, does she have interest in somebody? And Ichinose, she's like, no, and being honest with them. And the people are like, okay, well, you're incapable of lying. And this has been brought to a lot of times about Ichinose in 1, lying, and 2, hiding something. So I cannot wait for the future books to uncover what she's hiding in her dark side. This girl named Ashina, she was close to Nagumo, and I guess she still is, and she was the person, I believe, in the last book that her charm fell, or book 7, her charm fell and Enrikoji returned it. So he went to her and talked about the charm, saying that he was the one to give it back. She was thankful to him, and so she gives Enrikoji information about how to take down or go against Nagumo, and she's like teasing, he's rooting for her. I mean, she's rooting for him. She doesn't really think Enrikoji's going to do much, but little does she know, he probably will, and it probably will be in the future books. During running training, similar to how I think in book 3, during the island test, Koenji dipped, he did the same thing, and Enrikoji goes after him. And this is where Koenji makes reference. He's like, alright, Enrikoji boy, I know that you're really the one pulling the strings. So this is kind of interesting, because I read Hirata, Harikta, Karuzawa, and now Koenji are the only one that know that he's pulling the strings for Class C. So this is very interesting, but however, he says that he's not going to say anything about it. And so we don't really talk about them much, but during lunch, I believe this is the 5th day, this is the first time that we see Enrikoji, the group, that they eat and interact with each other. And then towards the end, the group, they started, at their wits' end, they started getting mad at each other, and they were fighting and yelling at each other. And at night, they ended up making up, having heart-to-heart, talking about their life and experience. And they're saying, hey, we're going to give it our all for when the actual test comes. Some people are going to be able to do better than others. Like Izaki, he's not going to be able to do good on like the writing portion. However, he can make up for it doing the long-distance relay. And Yukimura is like, yeah, I can't do much on the running part, but I can make up for it with the academic portion. And Koenji, he says, hey, I'm not going to sabotage us, but I'm not going to do more than needed. So Koenji will participate and will assist them. The last night that they are going to at dinner, Karuzawa, she slips a paper to Enrikoji with more information and that he suspected, and it's true. And he went to go follow Tachibana. If you guys don't know who that is, that was Harikta Manabu, his former assistant. And Tachibana, she seems depressed. She's sitting down and is upset. And Enrikoji's like, well, what's wrong? She explains that she's having trouble with her group, and she knows that it could affect the former president in Manabu, and that if something happens, he always puts himself above others. Well, he always puts others before himself, so she feels like something bad is going to happen during the day of the test. Hashimoto, like I mentioned earlier, he is in Class A. He sneaks out, and he has a conversation with Ruin, and then later, Nagumo and Manabu, they see their secret meeting. Hashimoto, he talks about how Ruin is he really no longer Class D's leader, and that the fight with Albert and Shizaki, it sounds fishy and that it's not true. And then this is where I think Manabu and Nagumo, they come in talking about who's really Class D's leader. They say Koenji looks suspicious. Nagumo brings up Enrikoji, and Hashimoto's like, Enrikoji, he's done nothing. And so Nagumo's like, well, Harikta senpai, he thinks otherwise, so Enrikoji's special and you should keep an eye on him. Enrikoji heads back to her room after spying on him, and then Hashimoto comes in a little bit after, and then tomorrow's the big day of their final exam and their test. In the end, after the test, Enrikoji and his group placed second overall, so that means Nagumo placed second, and Harikta, his group, Harikta Manabu, with Hirata, they placed first overall, so that means Nagumo lost and Manabu won, and none of the men, they were expelled. However, for the women, one group failed to meet the threshold. That was Tachibana's group. And so the leader of that group was, I believe, someone third year in Class B, Ikiari. And so she ended up saying, hey, I want to get Tachibana expelled as well. However, Manabu, he comes in and he's like, all right, let's lose our class points and our private points in order to save Tachibana. Everybody agrees. And this was Nagumo's plan overall. He wanted Manabu to use the points and lower their class points, where Nagumo, since he's a second year, he would pay for the class points, and the private points for Class B, and have them save the leader that was expelled. However, the whole point was that so that the 3 months that they have left for Manabu to waste all of their class points and their private points, so that if something like this were to happen again with Nagumo being the president, that they can't save themselves, and that they fall from Class A to Class B before they graduate. In the end, Karuzawa, she asked Enrikoji, if push comes to shove, can you handle Nagumo? And Enrikoji's like, I got it. And so now he's a little bit upset because he's probably going to have to get back in the fold. But the reason why this book wasn't my favorite, I understand that this book is really supposed to be the introduction, or the headway is supposed to show us what's going to happen for the future books, and it's a necessary book, but it was a little bit boring because As you know, I didn't bring up Pseudo, Ichinose much, Sakura, Harita, Kushida, Ichinose, Hirata, and a lot of the people, and Karuizawa, a lot of people that I mentioned in the previous books, it's really just Enya Koji, Yukimura, Koenji, Ishizaki, Albert, Nagumo, all of them. So like I said, it wasn't my favorite characters. I didn't get to see them that much. We barely saw them at all. I think the book was like 330 pages, and I probably remember talking about them or reading or seeing about them for like 30 of those pages. Like I said, it wasn't my favorite. Was it a necessary book? Yes, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. But let me know your guys' thoughts about it in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a video. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat is on the screen in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to unleash your potential.